All right, and we are live. Welcome to those of you that are on the front edge of 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate you joining us today. We'll get started in just under a minute. In the meantime, if you brought lunch and enjoying lunch, please do so. Our goal here is to fit right into your flow of work. All right, everybody, it is 12:15 and it's Friday. Not only it's Friday, it's August 1st. So welcome to August, everyone. How you doing today, Sandra?
Hey, I'm doing great. Joining you today from lovely, sunny Colorado Springs.
Love it. I love the fact that we can all be wherever we are, yet still stay connected. Well, I'd like to welcome you, everyone, not only to August and Friday, but to now the third episode of the Adapt to Accelerate, growing in the flow of work. And today's mission that you have accepted is to explore the unspoken power of unlearning. It's a word we all know. We don't probably use it too much, but I've discovered how powerful it really can be because it's so obvious, but oftentimes it's not something that I've done. And so here we're here to inspire you to unlearn. So the provocative question is, what if the key to learning faster was unlearning first? Giving something up while you take something new on. It's a simple concept, but powerful. And what really caught my attention here, to put it in context of why this is worth our time and attention, McKinsey did a study within the past year that says up to 60% of job tasks will be transformed within 10 years. Probably doesn't surprise you all that what we're hearing about AI, but the skills that made you successful won't be the ones that keep you relevant. So what are your thoughts on that, Sandra?
And I feel this almost every day. And I think most of us who have developed a flow with our professional development, we know that we need to, let go of things and keep moving forward. But the demand for adaptability and the pace of change uh, is is making this something that's front and center every day for me and for my clients. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Well, walk us through our agenda.
All right. Well, today we'll uh, get to the mission, and we're doing our intro right now. Pete has got some really great points. We'll work together to get that presented to you today, and then we'll share the call to action in really helping you take the next step in that unlearning and then keep moving forward as far as what we hope to bring to you each week.
Great. I'd like to start with the end in mind, but not sure if some of you have had a chance to join us in the past. By the way, we'd love to hear from you in comments. If you'd like to say hello from wherever you are, we have a diverse audience. That's always nice. Feel free to drop it in any time in comments, questions, comments, or ideas to share. We welcome that. But I want to share with you, as part of this experience we offer as a deliverable to create lasting value for yourself. It's called Edge Notes. Short, sharp, and hopefully significant. So if you're here today to capture the experience, perhaps it's going to challenge your thinking or give you some new ideas. This is a great resource that you can use to follow up to make sure that you provide the support that you need to continue to evolve and grow as you're looking to make behavior change. So this is an example of the Edge Notes from last week's session in which we kicked off adaptability. Today, we're going a little bit deeper into this framework. So you may be new to adapt to accelerate. So just as an overview, Sandra and I have known each other for a couple years, and we've been growing our strategic partnership. we had the idea of bringing or helping to solve the problem that people don't have enough time to develop themselves and grow. And, we empathized for that, for you and for ourselves as professionals in the past. So putting these learning experience in the flow of your work centered around 4 areas that we're deeply passionate about. And they are all synergistic. So innovation, how do we get on the front edge of change? When change comes your way and you have to react to it, how do you lead change better? All throughout that, how is the critical human skill of adaptability helping us accelerate or stretching us in areas or muscles we may not have used in a while? This is in focus today. And last but not least, what a wonderful opportunity we have to embrace the change being driven by AI, the things that it's going to force us to unlearn, and the things that it's going to allow us to do by letting go of old habits, old mindsets, old beliefs. And the framework is that we engage together on a Friday. You're a part of a growing community, and hope you feel that the support as you have a chance to connect and grow with others. You may this weekend have some time to think about, reflect on your past week. What about today stood out to you? How much you connect your own personal journey, whether it's at home or at work or in life. And then more importantly, hit the ground running on Monday with actions that you can begin to test as you take one small step forward to a new behavior, leading to a new habit, of course, for better outcomes. So this is our framework. This is what we call the Adapt Edge Power to Grow series. And with that, we'll get started. So last week, we talked about the adaptability quotient. Yes, there's another Q out there. We have IQ that measures what we know. We have EQ that helps us relate to people. But in a world of constant change, adaptability quotient is that differentiator to how we can pivot, adjust, and stay relevant for things that are changing. I won't go into this in detail. If you'd like to get the overview, feel free to check out last week's episode. I love Peter Drucker says, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So if you're looking to lose weight, how do you know you lost weight? Well, you step on a scale. How do you know you're adaptable? Well, if you want to take an assessment formally or informally, you're welcome to do that. But just even understanding the framework, ability, the strength of the muscle that we're developing. If you don't develop it, it gets weak over time. The character, how we're showing up in change. We all have our personalities from how we were born and how we were nurtured over time. You have ways of showing up, Sandra, in change that are different than mine. Doesn't make me right. Doesn't make you wrong, right?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of working together when our characteristics, our abilities can mesh well, and we can get more done together.
Yeah, and appreciate diversity along the way. And then last but not least, environment. It's the air we breathe. Some organizations offer the healthy air needed to adapt, and some don't. And so that's a critical component. But today is about unlearning. And I love this image because it probably conveys the simplest point. Let's say you're a juggler, right? And you've gotten good in the act of juggling, which is not easy. I can only get a couple balls up in the air for about 2 seconds, right? But let's say
That's better than me.
Yeah, right. I mean, 3 balls, game off. But let's say you are a juggler, but then all of a sudden you want to put a blindfold on. There is unlearning there where you're not relying on your eyes anymore. It's a different skill set that is emerging, and you have to let go of visual clues. So we're going to whet your appetite for that as you lean in here today. So what's our formula today, Sandra?
Well, as our slide shows here, we have the past doesn't necessarily equal the future. We often say history repeats itself, but that is only when we don't learn from history and we aren't intentional about what happens in our future.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra. I respect history for what it is. I do think there's relevance in understanding history because there's good things that we'd like to repeat from history, and there's some things that we don't want to repeat from history. And what I've learned about this is that, provocatively, history doesn't repeat itself. It's just that people repeat behaviors that causes the history to echo. So if If the same human pattern continues, then history will repeat itself. If we don't evolve our pattern to that which is the future, then we can create new history. And so a little bit of this, I think, healthy tension, yeah, it's a concept, but I think sets the frame well to say, the history can be a teacher for us and not a template to say this will happen next. All right. So how about a definition, Sandra? We know the word unlearning, but what is it really?
Yeah. So let's read this definition together. Unlearning is the intentional act of letting go of outdated knowledge, behaviors, mindsets, and approaches that were once useful, but are now limiting your or our growth in a changing environment.
Yeah, that's powerful. We're going to unpack each one of those areas specifically to really understand what's beneath the surface of unlearning. And to this first point here, what it is, it's a deliberate reflective act. You just can't let go of stuff. It's like cleaning out the house without discerning, do I really like these shoes anymore? Have I worn them or not? If no to those answers, then you certainly can let it go. But it's not just without rationale. It's about releasing beliefs that no longer match reality, because these are stuck in time in our mind, and the world is changing much faster outside. And it's about making space for relearning and to grow. We'll talk about that. I'm going to call out my enemy, the weed, which is popping up in my yard right now, from dandelion to crabgrass. It's an eternal battle. But even the emotional attachment, I like something because I know it and I can trust it. I can stay comfortable in my zone and not step into something that's a little fearful or stretchy for me. And then it really is about choosing adaptability over rigid expertise. And that's a process as well. But how about, what is unlearning not, Sandra?
Well, so in opposition to what you just said there, we think about that contrast, which is really helpful. So it's not just about that passive forgetting, the idea that that you're not actively thinking about it now means it's gone. That's not true. Our brains still access that memory if we haven't said, nope, I'm not going back there anymore, right? I'm not using that anymore. We have to be able to let go of things without deleting those valuable memories. What are we hanging on to? I like to use the concept of an open hand and a closed hand. We have to be choosing, what are we hanging on to and what's the purpose of hanging on to that, versus what are we opening our hand to and letting go of. And some things we are not supposed to let go of. So you have to be intentional about that. It's not about starting from ground zero. It's not about disrespecting those past experiences, learning from them, taking from them the valuable, and then also that losing our identity. Our identities can evolve, grow, shift, but we aren't asking anyone, and we're not proposing that you change who you are. In fact, who you are and your identity is a key part of that, what we hang on to, what brings you into the future.
So that's why we have two hands, one to hold on, one to let go. That's a powerful
That's
metaphor.
what I like using that.
Yeah, that's great. Love it. Thank you for that. Okay, so there's some liberation in letting go. There's some liberation in unlearning. And so we're going to give you the top 7 reasons why you'd like to unlearn as some motivation. So sit back and be entertained while you continue to enjoy your lunch. And after we talk about these top reasons, then we're going to drive into the application. Okay, now that it's justified, now that we have our attention, now that it's up on higher on our radar, what can you do about it? Some equally rich space by which you can explore to drive some of your actions thought over the weekend and possibly implemented on Monday. So to get us started, because what got you here won't get you there. It's like a journey. If you're heading across the country, you've got your roadmap, you've got your GPS. You're only looking back to know where you've come from. You don't spend a lot of time in your rearview mirror. right? These strategies, habits, and belief that once made you successful can be the very things that limit your growth because they are not forward leaning.
Yeah,
Great example.
that's right. Yeah. Um, you have that example there. To tell us, Pete, like in your experiences, what does that look like?
Well, what comes to mind to me is shifts in the generation. I'm mid to late career, and I know what old school looks like, kind of top down. This is the direction we're going. You're either on the bus, you're not on the bus. Now, there's some benefits to clear, decisive leadership. But I think what we're seeing in the workforce with the evolution of people that show up with a different experience at work, we need to find a way to drive leadership that is inclusive, that does involve. People don't like change where they're dictated. They want to be involved and have a seat at the table. So that can be a whole nother episode on how to blend and merge the different gifts that each or each generation has and brings to the workforce. But that's a perfect example to know that as Gen Zs become a larger part of the workforce, it is going to challenge maybe a more mature or traditional leader to flex and to be adaptable in their leadership approach.
Exactly.
Number two, because the world changed and you need to catch up. I don't know, Sandra, do you like to think you're on top of current events and you're cutting edge? Because I do.
Oh, I like to think it, but I have put myself in a place now where I am trying to make sure I stay current, and that has made it so that I daily realize I'm not keeping up. So I get a daily dose of humility, I think.
Yeah. I love my now adult children that are still a part of my life as they're beginning their own life. When they come home to visit, I love it because I get to learn about what all the new words are, the new
Mhm.
phrases, because I wouldn't know that on my own because I'm not around it. But it's just a perfect example of that, and that's a social, personal example. But so many things are evolving, and it's not our task to know them all, but the ones that matter do. So our obvious example here, COVID challenged this, and I think it was a clear example where we needed a shift and pivot. But clinging to online training, where people are preferring hybrid or asynchronous options, is a clear example.
Yeah.
Number three, because you've outgrown your own beliefs. We sometimes don't pause enough in life to realize that what we have wired in us no longer serves the purpose. Yeah, left brain, right brain, some people are more creative than others, but we are in the age of innovation. We are in the age of discovery and exploration. To continue to say, I am not creative, is a self-limiting belief. We're going to unpack this a little bit more. Number four, if you're not getting the results you want, this is a prime opportunity to be invited to look at unlearning, right? I'm working harder and harder and harder to gain this outcome in my job, market share growth, the next sale, process improvement, productivity, but your operating system is outdated, right? Micromanaging to ensure quality. Micromanaging's never been popular, but even today, with the shift of the needs of the workforce, it's micromanaging truly, if people are still doing it. I mean, it's not going to allow you to be successful in your role. Let go of it. It's about empowerment, creativity, and of course, with accountability. Rifling through number five, because unlearning breaks down internal barriers. There's a lot to this, but unlearning helps dismantle unconscious biases, a false narrative, and mental modes that aren't based in reality. This is a powerful example, believing that real leaders don't show vulnerability. As vulnerability continues to grow in its popularity, more and more of us are becoming comfortable with it because it breaks the model that those with more experience or maybe higher in the organization, I don't say this disrespectfully, but to be human, to be authentic in a way that leaders need to show up to gain people, to win them over. It's about being vulnerable, right? So flipping the script is the opportunity here. Number six, because you want to build the future, not just to survive it. I love the saying, the best way to predict the future is to create it. It's very empowering. So if we're going to go forward, it's about making our load lighter, dropping the heavy bags that just challenge our physical stamina so that we can go further and faster. And last but not least, because growth requires space. You need space. And if you think about pruning a tree, letting go of outdated branches allows the sunlight to come in for new growth to occur. So I think I always love reflecting on nature. It's really helpful. So Sandra, I know you like gardening as well. Do you ever do battle with weeds?
Yes. And in fact, because I have dogs, I've been having to, think about what weeds actually have to go and
Mhm.
how do I make them go, right? Because you can have some toxicity that you don't want.
Yeah, fair point. Well, my wife's just been getting into cut flowers. So she's
Mm.
got our whole garden. It's kind of taken over now with wildflowers, which is beautiful, but you still have to pull the weeds. And when I go to weed the garden, I take her with me because that way I don't pull out the wrong thing. Pulling out a flower rather than a weed is kind of embarrassing. Then I get in the doghouse and that's no fun. So this is a little bit of a personal story and really an allegory to say that there are weeds to pull, and those are the things you want to unlearn. And it goes back to what Sandra eloquently described. It's not about pulling everything out or letting everything go. You have to be selective. So as we round out the application part of our session today, these are 5 areas we're going to ask you to consider. So the first one is around data obsolescence. The speed at which data becomes available, relevant for a short period of time, it has an expiration date. I love the saying, why does sour cream have an expiration date? That's a joke, right? But data has an expiration date. If you're still using 2019 customer behavior insights, take notice. It may no longer be relevant. So Sandra, you deal with a lot of this, particularly in the AI models. What can you comment there and tie into some of these simple checks about, is my data old or not?
That's right. And where we're accessing that data. So for example, if you are using AI models that are in a chat bot, let's just put, if you're chatting with an AI model that has been trained on old data, you're going to get old references, old responses, insights based on that old data. So just simply asking it to access current data, and there's several techniques to do that with. We can talk about that next week. But yeah, is it current? Is it relevant? Old data, historical data can be great for trends, but not unless you're accessing that new data. Yeah.
Yeah. I love to look back to older data and see the forecast. I mean, when it's something forecast 2025, they're 5 years behind, right? So
Mhm.
let's
That's
let
right.
that go. Great point. Okay,
Yeah.
second area is limiting beliefs. Now this one's deep as well. And I'm going to read the definition. So it's a thought or assumption that you accept to be true, often without question, that holds you back from reaching your full potential. So if you're a techie or a codie, not that I'm using a label here, but limiting belief, it's like a software bug in your brain. It runs silently until you disrupt the code. So you have to look for it. And a good way to do this is just look at some of the language you use to say, oh, I'm not good
Yeah.
in situations that are ambiguous. Replace that with, I'm typically not good with dealing with situations that are not clear, but I can get better with that. So
Yeah.
this goes to the positivity of a growth mindset. Your thoughts, Sandra?
Yeah, Pete, I think that idea of listening to the language, listen to the voices in your head is so important, because if you were asked to list your beliefs, a lot of us would not list a lot of those negative beliefs, but yet we say those things to ourselves. And often that's because it came from somewhere else, or you thought you heard that message being shared with
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
from somewhere else, and you keep repeating that. And it could just be the random kid in the cafeteria once who said something to you, or a side comment in a performance review that really stuck with you, or someone was introducing you and they added a line that you just keep hearing over and over again. You
Yeah.
would say, I don't believe that, but yet you keep hearing yourself, you keep hearing that. So absolutely listen to the language that listen to the words that are on replay in your head to spot those limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Thank you. And I want to call out number 5 here. Check it against your goals. So if you have someplace you know you want to go, ask yourself the question, what belief would I have to let go of in order to achieve the future that I want? That makes it really pointed. So you're just not searching to say, belief, 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 which ones I need to let go, anchor it and frame it in that perspective. Unconscious bias. So this is really going a little bit deeper than what we just talked about before. So these are these automatic mental shortcuts rooted in stereotypes or past experiences. We are born into this as humans to have these. So my straight talk to you is, ladies and gentlemen, we all have biases. None of us are exempt from that. My challenge to me every day and to you is discover them. Awareness is 90% of the journey, folks. And what we are aware of, we can then begin to address. Right. And this example that's teed up here is, let's take a seasoned leader to say, I know what talent looks like. I know how to hire. I don't need team interviews. I don't need whatever these traditional models are. Not saying they're wrong. They are right. But it's just one perspective. Right. And as you're thinking about growth and leaning towards the future, do you know what the talent for tomorrow looks like? And is there a better way to approach your assessment for talent? Because the world has changed. Right. So if you can spot it, you can stop it. And that's where the real growth begins.
That's right.
And last but not least is legacy processes and tools. We've always used this. There are things within our world that are just embedded because they're easy. We've built them. We know that they work. But Sandra, I'd like you to expand on this. The world of AI is exploding this in a good way that I think can pay quick dividends quickly for us all. What are the 5 places you can
Yeah.
look? How would you comment?
Yeah. So uh, the there was a time when you and I, Pete, had to learn how to incorporate email workflows. Um, but now we're in this place where we have email-based workflows that we need to let go of. And it's so interesting to take a step back and look at that. Also, things like spreadsheets, if you use Excel or Google, but any of those database systems and tools that we use, AI is revolutionizing what we can do there. And then the ways that we do anything manual. Anything manual is a great place to look for new ways of doing things. That doesn't mean that if you do handwritten notes to new clients, you shouldn't keep doing that. That's a lovely thing to keep doing. But there you can balance that out with automating or streamlining or doing away with certain other things that you still do manually. And then training programs. Oh, well, I skipped one, so sorry. But anything paper-based. This can be a challenge, though, depending on your clients who are, don't use computers. My neighbor is 100 years old. I'm not joking. She's 100. And so what does she need? But even our new tools can help people who don't have access to regular technology. We are going almost beyond the technological hands-on tools to other things that we can use, which means that all of our training programs are great places to look for those legacy processes that we have as well. And I would say all of these things are things that you have to find through experience and change through experience. So you got to get out there and be exploring.
And I believe, Sandra, you're going to take us into our first Adapt to Accelerate session next week on AI, getting in, exploring. So a little
That's
commercial there. All right, last
right.
one here before we wrap up. Languages and labels. The power of words is unbelievable. Entire cultures and societies are established around the words that are used and not used. So these are phrases to describe people, roles, and behaviors, situations, and ideas. Again, to say, I'm not technical, right? Or I'm not a techie person, so who am I to actually try to craft a chat bot that can do work for me? Right. I am drawn into the efficiency gains. And quite honestly, I'd like to be able to tell someone that going to a wedding this week and to say, yeah, I got a chat bot. How about
Yeah.
you?
Well,
I don't
Pete,
have a chat bot.
that in a few weeks, we're going to do that one too.
I know.
So.
Yeah. Dr. Metzger is teaching me that. But give me an example of other words that we need to let go of. What have you experienced even recently?
I had a really great meeting on Wednesday where I was listening to Wendy Puffer. Shout out to Wendy Puffer, who said that she uses the word flex for what we're talking about, adaptability and changing. And she realized that her employees who are, Gen Zs, whenever they hear flex or use flex, they're talking about like showing off, like, oh, you're going to flex. Which is show something or do something like you're flexing your muscles. And she said we were miscommunicating using the word flex.
Yeah. Boy, the power of words. It's, what we have here is a failure to communicate, is the old line from the movie. And it's so true.
Right.
All right. Now there's a tool here. It stems from Barry O'Reilly, who's done an amazing work deep in the topic of unlearning. He provides on his website here a link. It'll also be provided in the edge notes. When you find the thing you believe can bring you greater results by unlearning, reflection questions that we provided you already, you're going to see action items in just a minute. Go to the site, download this canvas. I've got one on my desk because there is something I'm looking to let go of when it comes to my old outdated habits of keep my priorities straight so I can be more productive during the week. Spend more time on the letting go part of it. Follow the prompts. It's not that difficult, but I guarantee you, because I've read this book and I know this works, it's going to get you into this place of letting go faster so that you can adopt the new skill set. All right, final thought. So what if, and I propose this is true, your and my biggest breakthrough isn't learning something new, but it's unlearning something old. It's a package deal.
I love that, Pete. That's great.
Right? Hand open, hand closed together. I'll link those. All right, so what are some of the guiding questions we should all be asking ourselves, Sandra?
Okay, so do a little reflection. When was the last time you learned something new? How did it stretch you? Kind of do a little self-assessment on that. Think about your first reactions when you see change. Do you think of it threat, challenge, opportunity? And maybe you just need to, slow down time while you're doing that and think about your typical reactions and how do you want to adjust those. And then who do you surround yourself with? Are the people that you're around, do they support that mindset that you're trying to achieve? Do you have a good balance of people around you? And most importantly, do you have the ones who are going to help you identify and see those things that we talked about today?
Yeah. If you really want to have some fun at the end of your Monday, ask someone well, what did you unlearn today? They're not going to see it coming. Yeah. Try it. See what you get. All right. So some action items here. There are only two because we put a lot of frameworks up here already, but get a hold of the transformation map or the unlearning canvas. and just begin to warm up. You may not be in a position to use it right away, but it'll frame you with some of the questions and things you should be looking for. And then go back into the content here. Again, you can rewatch the live recording. I will put these main points in the edge notes so this can reshape your thinking. Just pick one area you think is the path of least resistance to help you go where your energy lies, to get some early wins and momentum, to find that one thing you can unlearn and let go of. So that's all today, folks. 30 minutes goes by really fast. We hope you've given you something to think about. We want to thank you for your attention. And looking forward, Sandra, what will you bring us into on August the 8th?
That's right. We are just going to jump in and have some experimentation with AI, and I'll give you some practical things to practice. Even if you have been playing with AI, I promise there are more things that you can play around with. So we want to make everyone feel comfortable in, and I'll give you some ideas of tools that you can use as your sandbox.
All right, folks, our time is over. Have a great weekend and stay adaptable. Take care.
All right. See you next
Bye.
week.